Welcome back, everybody. It is time for game number 2. What does Spoit play? He plays right freaking now, and he's going up against MNM Gaming with Rogue all around him. Let's see how it goes here with the E-Boy squad today. As we've seen their posts over the past few weeks, I'm very excited to see what they can show, but also what MNM can show, because we saw that glimmer of the team that we saw at Invitational earlier on in the year, just at the end of stage 1. Welcome back to the desk. I'm Milosh. This is Jack and Fabian, and let's dig into it all. Starting off with, who would you like to go with first? Elephant in the room, Rogue. Come on, of course.
We'll start with Rogue. I mean, they picked up Spoit. It's a massive pickup. They've removed Rips. There was rumors all the entire last stage, really, that they would replace him. He didn't have that great of a stage. Personally, they did play good as a team until, was it the third last Playday, so Playday 7?
Yeah, they were well in the top 4 shout for most
they
of
were
that
looking
stage.
like my favorites to go through, but then something happened and they didn't. We don't need to go too much into that part, but they replaced Rips with Spoit. I do have a little bit of worries about it, and I mentioned it in the pre-show, that I don't know if they have the shot caller anymore. So they have the fragging potential, and they have the fragging talent for sure to be one of the best teams, but it just needs to glue together as well, and they need to play as a team to actually make sure that that happens. People talk about eating their left shoe if they're wrong on something. I'm going to eat a banana on the last Playday here on the show if I'm wrong and they make it to the major. But right now, I don't know if they will make it to the major, because I'm worried that they don't have the structure for it.
Banana's not really much of a forfeit, to be honest.
That's the thing.
I was expecting something good.
But you know, I don't want to eat something bad, like a piece of paper. That would taste really
Piece of
poor.
paper?
No, that
Would you eat this piece of paper?
I've eaten
picture
other
of
things
crime?
of him that we don't need to get into.
I don't know why. Emmy just brought loads of pictures of players that were lying about the studio
And
onto the desk. So I've got a picture of crying here.
And none of them has
Fabian's
Uno
got a
on
bigger
it.
I have bigger ones.
None of them have Uno on them, and that breaks my heart, to be completely honest with you. I need to frame a picture of Uno in my...
Why is yours bigger than mine?
Just genetics,
I was
my
laughing
friend.
before I could get the words.
Just genetics. Just genetics. Don't worry about it.
Why am I here? 10 years of esports.
Sorry.
You have to work with the two of us. What did you expect?
Yeah, you two clowns on here. Moving on to MNM on the other side.
Oh, God, right.
Jack,
Serious. Yeah, I'm good.
what can MNM show us today?
Look, I mean, the one thing for MNM is they had a massive slump through stage 1. And there was people at the time saying, certain players, they have to go. And MNM recovered it, and now it looks like the right thing to do. They've been very quiet during the off-season. We've not heard any rumours about them, any murmurings. They've just gone away, improved themselves, worked on their game, and they've done it quietly. So I'm expecting MNM to have quite a big stage this stage.
I am as well, and Nickel and Leon both stepped up in the end of the last stage, and that's what we really needed to see. I think that if these guys want to be an even better team, and I think that they have the capability, those two players taking another step up in how they perform, and we're looking at the top 4 team without any doubts. They were actually ending up 5th last stage, which is kind of surprising with their start. And today's game could really go any way if they just kept working on the same thing that they have.
Well, let's see if they did. And maybe this more, I guess, fresh Rogue coming into it might be the best shot. Who knows? Always the first day is an oddity, though. Let's take a look at our map bans to see if there'll be anything special for us in our 9 map pool for those that have joined that maybe have not watched earlier on in the year or even coming in from last year. Hello. We now run a 9 map pool, not a 7 map pool like it was in the past. Rogue will have the last say. They'll remove Oregon, take us to Chalet, so we'll get that again. But this time, Rogue are on the attacking side with MNM on the defense. Jacker.
So Rogue have basically 5 maps they play, 4 maps they don't. The 4 maps they don't play are Villa, Chalet, Theme, and Oregon. They've banned 3 of them and left Chalet available. So I'm not surprised that MNM have taken that as an option. But that obviously strikes me that Rogue, you know, they're not going to be a team that rests on their laurels. They're going to work on their maps. For Chalet, for MNM, they played it a lot through Challenger League last year. And they always started the defense because they loved that map, and it was best of 3, so other teams picked attack. Rogue have done that. MNM always had to start from behind. They were always 4-2, 5-1 behind, going into the attacking half and recover the game. So it's all about their defenses.
MNM might like the map, but I am actually leaning Rogue with the map. Just looking at their fragging potential, I think that even if the map is an attacker favorite map, sure, Rogue will do fine on attack. It's just that on defense, they have the mechanical talent to do the individual plays that will actually take them defense rounds as well. So I do believe that Rogue stand a bigger chance here just because they have more fragging potential.
All right. Well, you ended at that point, and that means our game is ready. So let's not waste any time. MNM versus Rogue is about to begin. Spoit is playing finally in a U League, and we're going to get to see it and witness it for ourselves. Let's toss it then to our casters. It's Chalet, and it's Hap and Fluke. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, and hello everyone. Welcome to the start of a story. Will it be a good one or a bad one? Unfortunately, that pressure entirely rests on the shoulders of an 18-year-old Spoit. He's here. Is he ready?
Yeah, is he here to play, or are they going to be fumbling in these first couple of matches of the European League? Of course, they had a big roster change coming into stage 1. Deepak making it onto the roster, for example, one of those players in between Tier 3, Tier 2. But Spoit never really, having played Challenger League, instantly coming up to the top levels here of Europe with a lot behind his name. Coming up against MNM. Let's see whether or not he will surprise.
Oh, the last time I saw these two teams, there was a very similar prediction there. And to be fair, let's paint a story. At this point, Rogue, they'd gone a fair few games in a row unbeaten. They were soaring towards the top of the table and a very strong start. MNM had taken 2 wins, I believe, at this point. One was an OT, one was a full time against BDS. It was a fair victory, but at the same time, it hadn't really been the start of a swan song. Then you get to this point, and after losing to MNM, Rogue lost every single following game and fell out of the top floor, which felt guaranteed up until that point.
Yeah, for a long time, everybody was kind of convinced that Rogue would be going to the major. Unfortunately, just missed out indeed, and a small change coming through, turning into the biggest kept secret in European League history. Spoit coming to them. Nobody could have guessed it. That's not true, by the way. And I'm just saying for people that might be just joining in.
People get the bit. I think everybody tuned in right now knows the bit.
You might not know for sure if everybody. Asami getting banned.
So we won't see her?
We won't see her right now.
We might see Sens. They obviously have the option of showing up if it is sort of something that is played within the realm. Because, well, to be fair, it's still very fresh. It's still a big sort of idea. They have a gadget that can be huge in the right hands, but whose is the right hands?
Yeah, but they're also a 1-speed, and they also have a gun that is the POF 9, which is quite a bit of recoil. I mean, it's not uncontrollable, but there's just so many operators that have
a
way more usable gun.
Yeah, it's a bit of a conversation. It's a bit of a conversation on that gun. Obviously, we can only really talk about what it's like on PC.
Yeah,
where I think some of the response has been get good.
Some of the response.
Console, if you play on console, I cannot comment because I
I've
don't.
heard a lot of people say
I've heard it's very tricky on console.
It's very tricky.
I feel for you.
All right. Wow.
Rogue vs MNM. Okay, let me finish the story that I was saying before. Yeah, it was the start of a bit of a downfall. MNM from that point onwards had a really good end of the season. They were sort of sparking, but it was at the very end, and that was a bit of a blow because we had high expectations from the very start. Here is that sort of question. Are they going to start in a similar way as they did before, with a little bit of slow and steady and find that feat halfway through, or can they find what was fantastic form at the end of the opening stage and see if they can bring it here? Hey, is this a hold down below? Hey, is that hatch soft? Can we just check for the life and sake of Tim?
I was going to say Tim is going to either go very happy or insane after this this hold here, depending on whether or not it was open. But it seems like a quick push is coming through. A grenade comes through. It's a Goyo canister that pops as well. It's going to be putting down some fire, so we'll slow down an eventual push. But the idea that they have is to quickly smoke that off under the cover of the glass, which is now a 3-speed operator with a bearing 9 in pocket as well, and then try and go for a plant under the cover of that smoke.
Have themselves a quite wide hold on the map so far, as it was discussed previously. When you are holding down on this side, on the desk, you've got to make sure that you have some control over that hatch, over the ability to stop a west main take. Tyrant with the roam around blue, and Solotov not too far away on the swing and the angle there. They're able to just keep them guessing. It means that Rogue cannot just swing themselves in. They have to try and find this fight on the top and see if they can lock out whoever is in that place. I'm not sure if it's frozen for everybody else or just for us.
It's Medics. Medics broke it.
Well, you can see that they're still playing, so hopefully we'll be back in a second. At this point, we'll just have to sort of guess. We know an engagement was going to happen at the top, but we'll take this moment to, I guess, talk about the hold, because that's all we can really do. There's a hatch, and it's a very important hatch that plays itself inside dining area, because if they still have that open, you have control over anybody that might try and enter onto trench. We're just having the pause. We're having ourselves get sorted. As you can see, the players are still playing. We had, at this point, an entrance made onto Snowmobile itself, and you could see that the entrance to try and get a little bit of action over that period of control was happening over library, was happening over the top of the floor, because it's a big open space with a soft destructible roof above it. If they try and get a plant down and they haven't got control over rafters or fireplace, you assume that's going to get popped open, and then suddenly that is a no-man going territory.
Yeah, mainly the fireplace area. It's that little living room with the couch. It directly goes down onto the green bins. And if you then remember that Deepak and Leon were both set up outside that main breach, outside the snowmobile garage, willing to go for a plant, 9 out of 10 times that's going to be going down right behind those green bins. Sometimes you actually push up close to the reinforcement. Just depends on how much safety you can guarantee to the planter if you have control of connector, for example. But as the round's still going on, we can
make assumptions.
I'm going
based on how quickly they're moving their wrist and how quickly the light's changing on their face. Nello, I think, is jumping between a lot of different cams alongside Neo. There might be some smokes that are happening. We saw a glass on the board before, so there could be the pressure onto the side itself. So far, we'll only really know the jubilation when we see it cross their faces.
I think it's MNM that won the round. I'm not sure.
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to gauge.
I think there was more of a cheer there and a bit of a sigh.
Wait, breaking news from Medics. Medics, please repeat.
I think
MNM won the round, so it's got 4K. I am so sorry, everybody, that we can have that. Obviously, the game itself crashed. Not for the players, only for our perspective. So, in your minds at home, feel free to create how Solotov did that 4K. Yeah. Did it happen all within a final 10 seconds on a plant? Did he go for a huge run out? It's Solotov. It could be anything.
Maybe you just John Wicked him, brought in the pistol, got 4 headshots there in the last couple of seconds.
Solotov was playing.
I don't know either. But, I mean, you said use your imagination. So,
Solotov.
Let's get some...
All I can tell you is that they weren't playing Valkyrie's army.
Yeah. Because those two operators were not allowed to be on the playing field here today between Rogue and MNM. Now, we're quickly getting everybody back in, or rather get medics back in, so we have a perspective we can watch as well. I just wanted to highlight the trophy cabinet of Deepak there. You see all those...
You're obsessed with Deepak.
No, but do you see...
Why is that?
Look
Where's Deepak from?
No,
what region?
Listen. Look at all those Benelux trophies.
Yeah. Do you know why?
There's a bunch of them.
Do you know why?
Like 6, 7 of them.
Do you know why?
Why?
Benelux is free.
Didn't have to do it like that. Actually, the rest of his team is not doing too well now, or his old team. They fell into second place. It's,
wow.
Yeah, activity.
Which is weird, since they've... How many seasons have they gone, like, unbeaten?
Like 7 seasons.
Oh, really?
Not going too well now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, activity has finally taken the charge there. Quickly had Cactus join and then left. Also ex-EUL player. But doesn't matter too much now. He's in EUL. And so is Sport, who doesn't have a trophy cabinet, but has some sneakers lined up in the background.
What? I mean, okay, I was about to say, why are you just analyzing the random various things in the rooms? We'll be back into a game at some point.
Because we didn't see anything.
We didn't see. It is a rarity, unfortunately, that there's really literally not much that we can talk about, because it was the first round. And we lost sight before a single engagement had happened. So we can't tell you whether it was...
We know the breach opened, that's about it.
Yeah, we knew the breach was open, and we knew the pressure was going to come from Cryon onto the top floor. It was Tyrant that was roaming on a Goyo. Was Solotov the one on the wing as Mozzie? I want to say. Really testing my memory here.
Could be.
I think it was.
We'll probably get a confirmation once we get back in.
Yeah, it was a lineup of smokes. It was a setup of delay. It seemed like at the time they were going for a snowmobile push, that they were ignoring West Main. At that point, there was still a lot of time left in the round. They could have been then rotating around to try a bit of pressure onto the opposite side. They might have gone. It's a bit of a risky attack to just go through that single breach.
Yeah.
At this point, you sort of have to treat it like CC on Club, where sure you can get CC wall open, but then you're sort of in a bit of a kill box. There's so much else around it.
Like, you need their launch, you need the garage, the mezzanines before you could actually go for a plan. And the same kind of goes here. You basically need blue or some pressure near blue. You need to make sure no one is up above and can fire down upon you from the fireplace. And actually, connector, possibly also one of those spots that you need to have under a bit of a lock and key before you could get going. Now, as we patiently wait, see some lights flashing up here and there. Cryan actually gave a bit of a wink to the camera, so
you're looking for too much.
I'm having a feeling. I'm trying to find a way to see whether or not we're getting back in. All right. It's
okay. Well, how about we talk about something a little bit more potentially interesting to the audience, rather than what's on the screen.
No, go ahead.
We already technically have some data on Spoit in terms of playing with the recent charity tournament. How did he do?
Well, I mean,
Stats ban hap. How did he do?
I wasn't able to get the full stats out,
okay,
but I definitely know that, you know, he had his moments. He did show up here and there, but it's not quite to the fullest extent that people might have hyped him up to. But I think that this is like Bolo, for example, when he came in. His first games weren't like 20 kills as well over the NAL. It's like people hyped him up so much, too much. I'm not saying he's not a good player, by the way.
Well, Bolo's first game was a draw. It was a 6-6, I believe, versus SSG. And he went positive, but it was only just.
Yeah, but the thing I wanted to point out is, like, Spoit does have relatively little experience in Tier 2. He has been trialing quite a bunch of teams, but these are the games that start mattering, right? Like, we had that charity tournament. It's important. It's their first showing. But these are the games where it starts mattering. And they didn't make it through in the end. They actually played Schley twice. They lost it once against Victus. That was their final time they played it, with a 6-8, and they won it once against Victus with a 7-4 earlier on. And that's also where they played. So that's the kind of stats we can look at. 4 attacking rounds they managed to get back then. So that is something we have to look at now as well, considering they just lost that first.
Well, tricky times. There seems to be some adulations, and as our little meter for how close we are to getting back in the game disappears in the middle, we are back in the game. 1-0 to MNM. Hey, if you thought you didn't see that round, well, unfortunately you didn't. There was a bit of a tech problem, but touch wood, it's sorted now. MNM took it. Solotov pulled in a 4K. And I guess let's see if they can try and get some more growth behind it. We find ourselves into Bar. It is another site where you sort of have to hold on to the top. You have what has a very dangerous big double hop and window. And sure, some teams can play themselves with a lot of pace. You're looking at not really that. Obviously, the control of the movement there from the side of Lion might be something to help Cryan. Going for a bit of a top entrance, but Cryan himself on the Nook might try and be something a little bit sneakier than he was in the previous round.
Hoping to have a bit of a different impact there, sneak around some of the cameras. May they be a bulletproof, may they be a default. Seeing if he can sneak in, maybe get an early entry that way, one that's unexpected. There is some setup drones by the side of Rogue, and Cryan looking to go inside the trophy. It has been checked, it has been cleared out. Now debating whether or not to go downstairs, middle floor, all the way up, and just hoping to find someone soon. Nello still working on some of the setup there, opening up with a bit of shotgunnery. There's a lot of presence towards the library, actually, on the side of MNM. Hope that they have all their ADSs set up there, otherwise it could be a very good double kill coming in from a potential grenade from the balcony.
Spoit slow and steady across the top with the Iana. You can see they're going for the pinch on, well, the space. It's Chalet. You sort of have to try and control big facets of it before you can try and make the push and the pressure towards the power positions, top of blue and behind the fireplace pillar. Neo's dug in on a corner with Usus on a swing that isn't the most common position. If anything, that's the stretch for this hold, and well, they might see what else they can do underneath it. Cryan, talking of, is going for that steady clear, but underneath his main team. They have themselves set up all over one side of the building, and now, with just under 2 minutes left, they're going to see if they can try and swing that round. The opening on the side of box gives them that swing angle, and it's down Tyrant to see if he can try and keep alive as long as possible.
Minute 35, the first kill comes through. Uses with the MK14 on a long angle, finding Deepak. That's the line gone. So suddenly there's going to be a lot less utility to be used to stop these players from moving. So your pre-fires might be a bit more successful. Flashbangs and grenades are about to be tossed in, hoping to find some reply, but not quite going to be the case. It's Spoit up on the front line here, hoping to return the favor towards MNM, but the MK14 is still howling at him.
It's a hefty gun for that sort of fight and angle. It can just keep peppering those single shots around because one is almost more than enough to clip the wing of the player that tries to swing their way round. Cryin with the grenades underneath, doesn't quite catch the player, but Nello is close with a shotgun ready to pop it. A minute, and all they've done so far is open a little bit of territory and lose a player. Rogue, you got to see if you can try and formulate a hold or a pinch on a single, because otherwise you're going to find yourself having to try and force your way through underneath. Usus finds Leon, drops the kick cold outside the double window, went for a wide rotate. There's Kanto's almost suffering, I was going to say, slips his way through, but Cryin knocking on the door, a surprise there, a huge fight up top. Spoit takes his first, marked and etched here. Finds himself at least on the even swing round. Looks for the second. Down onto blue. They're pushed back less than 30 seconds now. The single player is down in the back line of Pantry. Cryin. His position is revealed. They've taken a few scrapes. They've been able to bite it back. Tyron and Spoit battle back and forth to 2 versus 2. Cryin full health. Neo and Nello matching him there. Can they swing round? There's Nello getting one. Locks off the Iana after they've done everything to try and bite themselves into this round. He's been a bit of a surprise. Not anymore. MNM, 2 rounds.
Time running out there in the end. Kill coming through as well, making sure MNM is 2-0 up currently. And it all started off with that very long gunfight. The MK14 just picking up the head cleanly of Deepak. No more line at that point. Spoity tried his best. He tried to fight back, managed to find 2 kills, and did a lot of damage onto the player, onto those blue stairs or library stairs, depending on where you are. But it wasn't enough at the end there. Cryin trying to sneak in, not fully checking the corner. Losing his life as a result. And now, we have that 2-0 up for MNM. Onto their defense. We know that the attack is quite important here as we quickly replay Spoit. Finding that very first, a good response there. As he didn't originally check that corner, basically got caught off guard a little bit.
It was a really heavy hold above. 4 players, obviously 2 of them in the standard positions. The third, you could still say as a standard position. Some teams will always play that player on the corner of library with something to support themselves, just to waste grenades, waste time, see if they can slip and slink away. The extra player up there, I think, really kind of changed how Rogue wanted to approach. Suddenly you've got this extra factor. They can't get themselves set up on the double windows because there's a swing factor. They're playing themselves kind of hyper-aggressively back into the angle. They're making sure that their presence isn't hidden. At that point, it seemed like Rogue were a little bit stumped as to how to approach, and the conversation was something that stalled them a little bit too long.
Library take on the cards here. It's from that position. Cryin again quickly inside of the building, looking to go over this hallway towards the dining. Now, there is a shield there. Unfortunately, won't be able to find anybody, but there is 2 people, 2 players quite close. Neo might be the first one to find some contact here. Seems to be aware of the fact that there is someone active, or something active rather, as he's looking for drones. Cryin instead will be pulling off, however, maybe using a grenade to get rid of the electrification so Leon can start opening up above, and maybe verticality will help them a bit more.
Just saw the leg of a player drift away from that shield there and went to go for a bit of a chance, but wasn't quite gifted with the response here. So they fall back to the plan of trying to get themselves some clarity onto the objective and the site itself. Standard traditional siege, as Fresh would put it. Well, it starts still with a little bit of aggression, trying to bite your way across and getting control of box here to get this wall open. It is that massive sight line, and now as the pressure starts to come around, look at the dance. Somebody wants to eye up here on the fight. It's Solotov, it's 1, it's not 2. Spoit at least gets a bit of revenge there. Deepak once again off the board. It's the first engagement, but at least they bit back instantly.
Interesting placement of the K-Claw there. I wanted to point it out before, but then the gunfight came through, and unfortunately it didn't really matter in the end. They managed to get rid of it, and they managed to open it. So still the double wall below, though. Electrified. They need to get a grenade over to get rid of that PC utility. It's just placed on the ground. There's nothing else closed there, so an easy opening will be made. And Leon now getting the breach done and dusted. The thing, however, is they want to go for a bit of a plant. There is no vertical control as of just yet, and that allows Nella to just stall some time here with the smoke as Kanto's trying to establish that vertical control.
Tyron gets down on the backside of Piano. They're not quite able to lock it in right now. He might not know, but he's going to have to try and, well, find a little bit of a split pressure here. Neo, he's going for a savior action here all the way towards the other side as the pressure comes onto the site underneath itself. Nello's doing everything he can to buy themselves some time, but it's Cryin with the grenades over the top. top. The Nook's gone as a surprise. Almost gives the worst gift possible. Leon snuck in with the kit. He's trying to find his way down, just tucked on the other side of the wall. They don't have anything instantly to stop this fight. The cover's from Spoit, and it's perfect. He's looking for the second. Nello bites back and shows him more perfection. Over the top, Neo gets an important kill, but the kit is planted. Wow, he's back on the floor at this point. At least the savior has been saved. But Kanto is trying to watch from the long angle. MNM, they're trying to structure themselves a retake here. And, well, that is a very costly decision. Cryin gets one, Tyrant gets one back. And, well, it's still a technical 2 versus 1. But Kanto's just watching on the angle. They're going for the pickup. And Kanto, he's going for revenge. Finds the first. The second has an idea where he is. Kanto just has to stay tucked in the corner. Neo's going to go down to pick it up. We're going to pass the moment of no returns. And Rogue find the first round.
Bit of a risky move there to go for the pickup first of all. Might have not been aware of the angle being watched. Now that one gets taken out. You eventually do get that trade, but the instant movement was to go for the pickup again. I was like, surely not. Kanto's just going to be realizing this, holding the door, with both of them being on 20 HP. They need a bullet each to be taken out. Eventually he got one, he fell off. He wasn't quite sure the second one would be. And was eventually able to still get the clutch though, because the timer was quite low. They needed to stick it. There was no real other option in that moment in time. But just again, Solotov here, able to get the Sophia. I thought for a second that could have saved that breach because of, like, they reinforced the wall from either side. So what I think they did is they opened up the soft wall from inside and then placed it against the other reinforcement, which makes it difficult to shoot out from that soft wall. So that's what I wanted to get an explosive in there. They still shot it, so I'm not sure if it was misplaced or if my theory is just completely incorrect. Maybe. But that's what I wanted to point out, or at least highlight back then.
Cryin on the Thatcher. Not the most common sort of player for operator choice in terms of what he likes to generally drive himself through, but that Roman Rogue play hasn't quite worked for a roaming Rogue so far. They're looking to see if they can restructure what was a failed breach attempt afterwards before. Well, the breach itself was successful, but from that point onwards, from what we saw, the limited bit, oh goodbye. Well, it was a bit of a growth needed. There is an exceptional bit of growth. Solotov, the man who pulled off a 4K last time we were here off screen, is the first off the board. Spoit activated? Question mark. I'll leave it at that for now because I don't want to accidentally start to put too much pressure on him.
No, for sure. He's been doing quite well so far throughout this. And interesting electroclaw being set up to get the walls below. Just to make sure they need to work a little bit harder on clearing that because it cannot be done from the side. It needs to be done from up. And the only way to find out is to get some drones around in that kitchen area, in that dining area, and spot it out. Because, well, they might be tossing some grenades in. They're not going to be finding that electroclaw from below. Look at that Spoit. Timing.
Oh, the drone just got the reveal there at the last second. You saw it swing around the door. He's going to play himself out of that. The drone game from Rogue has started to heat up, and that's the thing about Chalet. Why it plays really well for attackers is drones and intel could be hidden in so many different places and then punished as such. Cryin finds Tyrant. The 2 roam players who caused the problems for them before have gone first. Now they're going to see if they can actually try and put the pressure onto potentially the site. Users is now that middleman. He has the option to try and rotate onto the kitchen hatch if he wants to take it. Here, the smoke of Deepak is going to see if he can try and draw out some of the fire and potential elsewhere. The echo on the board means some problems might be caused. They're going for a bit of a swing, but what point do you go for it? As Spoit finds his way down onto blue. They're looking to put pressure onto the echo. They have themselves stacked up. We see the drop of the hatch on the far side. All MNM players are now on the basement floor. They're watching and waiting, and that echo drone seems to have a bit of a freebie of intel right now, but it's tough when you're in the 5 versus 3. The smoke covers a bit of movement. There's the Glaz seeing if he can get it through the smoke itself. The spray of Spoit gets Nello inside blue. The kit is done. And so is the round. A flawless as a return here. A 2 for 2 for Rogue.
A plan's coming through as well, not that better in the end. It's the flawless round to come through, as you just said. Beautiful lineup in the end there. Well played as well. And this is kind of what they wanted to go for before as well. We said it in round 1 before we unfortunately lost the screen. They want to go for that plant under the cover of the smoke and the glass, and they need someone in blue. So now we've seen this, we can kind of tell what could have gone wrong, which is potentially the blue not being under control, which allowed the Echo to go for that rotate to get these stuns in or some pre-fires with the MP5, either finding Deepak to cover or the planter, wasting a lot of time. those are still, of course, imaginations of what happened in round 1. Fact is, MNM won it, and we are currently on 2-2 due to Rogue now finding 2 in a row. Headed back towards the bar and gaming. This is the second side MNM was able to win and still has a 100% win rate on so far during this match. Let's see if they can continue that. Frost mats being set up in the library often will get taken out, but you might find someone and catch them off guard.
Now this is the lineup from the attacks. Deepak, well, he hasn't quite been able to make other things work so far, so the Ying might be the answer, combined with the Lion, the Gridlock, the Amaru, and the Dokkaebi.
It just spells out a rush, right?
It spells trouble. Are they going to make it double?
We'll find out in a couple of seconds. Definitely some preparative work being done here. Ryan is eyeing up, going up.
So he wants to push
that window.
Yeah, the garage one, so he can swing onto any pressure onto the site itself. He's just making sure that nobody's locked in. They're getting some idea of where the players are, because when you hit the boards, you want to make sure you hit the players instantly afterwards. When they had 4 of them above, they're sort of saying, well, why don't we just go below, and in such a manner that they don't know what's going to come next. The calls come through. There's the Candelas, potentially going to roll their way in underneath. All the time is throwing the gridlocks, and this is the sign that things are about to go. Solotov finds the first. Spoit goes down. There's a spray round. There's 2 for Cryan. The Amaru has gone huge, but the kid is still on the top floor. Cryan finds 1 more. It's a triple across the board. A spray towards the back of the bar. Tyrant's off. It's a quad here for Cryan. And Solotov is all that's left. An Amaru ace. It is an Amaru ace.
Well played there from the side of Cryan, and you know, we said it before, it spills out a rush, and that's indeed what it was. Goes up on top of that window, gets inside under the cover of the Candelas coming through. Everybody thought it's going to be a quick plant, we need to shut this down now. Didn't expect Cryan to just enter and get the ace from that position. Well played by Rogue as they find that 3rd attacking round.
Is that the first Amaru ace ever? In comp, obviously.
I was going to say ever.
In comp,
Probably not.
in comp.
Comp? I haven't seen one personally, so I would say it is definitely the first, for sure, in EUL and APEC
It was
North.
a quick one as well. Most 20 seconds between the first towards the last. It's not going to break the record for fastest ace, but it's definitely up there in pace.
You know what the trouble with this is?
What?
Demo is always playing Amaru as well, just trolling your elo, deciding to go in and giving the 4v5. And now he's going to be like, you know, Cryan did it, he got an ace, so I can do it as well.
Yeah, but I think Demo approached it in a different way. Because when we were playing the other night, look at this. So, 210, or 211 was the first 2 kills. We have the time on the last.
Yeah. I don't know if we get it. No, we don't get it. I have to go back and check.
But it was no more than about 10 seconds, 15 seconds after that. So, it was a quick ace, an Amaru ace. Put it on the boards, put it on the player of the week list.
That's definitely on there. It might be even the top spot. I mean, just the entire play in general was great, because there was quite some coordination going on there with the calls, with the flashbangs, Candelas. Everything was helping Cryan getting those kills there, and well, it paid off in the end.
MNM, they started this game off with 2 rounds in a row, and since then they've started to slip further and further away, suffering now pretty much 2 flawlesses in a row, though one was at the hands of an ace by an Amaru, and that's that bit of a worry blow here, because Rogue have built this confidence. They built this momentum now, they've got themselves angled, but they're still looking for that 4-2-half, which a lot of teams do leave with here onto Chalet, which does work very well for attackers. MNM, as we said before, they sometimes like to play onto their defensive side, but attackers really where they can try and bring some strike. They've had some very, very huge moments in terms of their growth and their progression into Tier 1 on this map itself. It's never really over for MNM, and that's the story that's told all the time. If they can get themselves a 3-3-half, game on. Even then, a 4-2 is still, I think, game on.
Yeah, for sure. It's never really over until it's over. I mean, we've seen greater comebacks happen in the European scene, Pro League scene, that is, and even on the international stage. Taranto with the first kill onto Kanto. It's going to be a huge help. It's going to be the Dokkaebi off the board, meaning no hacked camps will occur. Also, no more phone calls. Is now just inches away from finding Cryan there.
Leon finding Solotov, shuts him down once again. He's not quite able to bite into this round in the same way as he did in the very first. With the 4K here, Spoit's holding onto the angle. He's been able to get himself consistently into these aggressive moments and keep finding these fights. It's one of the rarer times he's not on that entry statistic, and a positive light here for Rogue at least. But do they know of Tyrant? Sliver of health, but he's in a position that could be huge. This grenade is going to try and find its way to the back line. Tyrant has to choose his moment perfectly. The flashes come through. Oh, Spike somehow wins it out. Granted, a sliver of health onto one. Users finds Leon back and forth. 3-3 now. But they've at least been able to try and get some of the verticality. Oh no! It could be any player in the world that can stop him, but a frost mat, unfortunately, takes him a bit by surprise. Deepak, he's on a mission to try and save the new pickup. Uses rotates around on the opposite side. It's a very important fight here. He doesn't quite get there in time now. Uses, he's back behind the shield. The C4 over the top. Is it going to be the end? No, Uses gets the kill. He didn't expect the extra player, but he doesn't need it. MNM 3-3.
Who's going to win? An 18-year-old star player, Fred, or one Frostmat? Welcome me, boy. The Frostmat won it this time.
I mean, it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
It happens.
I mean, I don't know how you expected it. I mean, normally you will expect him on the main window, on the library, for example. Not one up there, but the thing about these Frostmats is you can place them wherever you want. You can even place them in the middle of the hallway if you wish.
You can.
And this time he got caught off by it. It happens. Unfortunately, it got caught on cam. Always makes it a little bit more devastating, especially for the new Spoit fans that are watching here in this Rogue versus MNM game. But he's been doing quite well. He's been pulling his weight. If you take away the ace of Crime, he's top fragging for the team. Of course, we cannot take away the ace.
I mean, that's like saying, yeah, if you take away everyone else's kills, you stop. I'm going to use that line in ranked. Yeah, if you take away everyone else's kills, I'm top.
I'm top fragging.
Yeah,
I'm definitely the MVP. But he's doing well. He's second place currently on the side of Rogue, and he's consistently finding kills. But what I wanted to argue is it is basically more important as a player that you find your kill every single round rather than an ace every 6. And that's not to harp on Crying. This is more to say he's doing well right now. So is Crying, but Spoit is doing well. He's not, bursting under the pressure yet.
I get it. KPR is a very important stat, depending on your role, but I think also there's a lot about Siege, and role dependency is a big one. Hey, what's this? Oh, it's a fight. You can see Tyrant had the idea of a player there, but Spoit just takes it out. As I said, drones are deadly on this map. But he trusted that he'd be able to have the reflexes to take care of it, and it's tough to argue with a positive result. He's able to find his at least one for this round so far. They've lost Iana. It's not the biggest loss in terms of what they can do for the push onto the site itself, but still, Tyrant is a player that has been huge, and he keeps being a bit shut out of this round and this map so far. A slow approach here from underneath. The flash is over the top. He knows he's got to move, so he tucks himself with a little bit of safety behind that hard wall. He's just going to survive for as long as possible as you see MNM players of all sides coalescing onto this single position. Another flash over the top, and he swings in. Cryan actually takes it, though, from underneath. Takes care of Solidov, gets the swing in, and I'm not sure if it was going to save Spoit's life, but it definitely secures it.
Yeah, well, it could have gone very wrong there. I mean, it was going to be fully flashed, and yes, he had to jump onto Solotov there, but in the end, it's good that the protection came through. Scryan finds a second kill. Now Neo onto the library window here. Has his position given away as he did fire a couple of shots, so might expect Kanto to go for a bit of a challenge. Of course, Kanto, he's a very experienced player, decides to fall back. They have a 3-minute advantage. No need for giving them 1v1s all over the map here. So they're trying to turtle in now. They're trying to all get back together, make sure that MNM really have to work hard to get this round.
It's tricky. As I said, what they've taken out from before isn't the biggest blow, but now you literally just have Siege Light. You have the classic pairing of a Thermite and a Thatcher, seeing if they can take on pretty much everything with the site, because nothing had been pressured up to this point. We hadn't really seen any grenades directly loose towards the site itself. We generally had pretty much all of the utility has gone in pocket. I'm not sure if the Twitch drones were able to take care of anything before we lost them, but we've lost them now. Anything else ahead of them is just going to have to be the breach and the broach. Nello on the far side was hoping to try and catch a freebie on a rotate. It's 40 seconds, though. That's time that they're just seeing if they could be gifted a kill before they try and go for something, and something has to be done. Cryan, he's waiting at the top of a slow creep staircase here in a bit of a surprise position. I think MNM is hoping that all of the attention is paid, but that procs tells a different story. A triple kill here for Cryan, and, well, if you discount those kills, then Spoit's had the best round so far, but we've still at least got a player left on the board. Neo, 15 seconds, no kit, a hail of bullets, and it looks like we're queued up for the third flawless. It isn't, but it almost was. Crying, 4K.
Not a great round from Crying there. Deepak unfortunately not able to find it there. Still on 0 kills. Talked about one of the players of MNM being shut out. Deepak definitely not having the best impact here so far.
Leon is on 0 as well.
That would be even more impressive considering... No, he's on 1.
He's on 1. He was very recently on 0.
Not anymore though.
I mean, when your top 2 players, between them, have 21 kills.
And you have 4 rounds, then yeah. You know,
2 flawlesses, almost 3.
Could have really gone the right thing.
It's tough.
It is definitely tough. Now, Rogue though win their first defensive round, and they need to find 3 more rounds to get those full 3 points on the board. And this is kind of coming back to that story you were talking about before. Rogue, they started off their split, their stage, like MNM ended it, right? They started off strong, but then unfortunately they fell short and were eliminated from playing at the Major in Charlotte. MNM, they started off pretty weak. Well, not completely weak, but they didn't quite get the results in that they wanted to have. We could all see the promise. We could all see the potential. I mean, we saw them qualify for the 6th Invitational, so there was tons of skills involved in that team. They just weren't able to quite put it on the board. Crime will find that drone. Just finds that drone before he gets wallbanged there. But they ended their stage in a pretty good fashion. So now it will be as Leo just finds Salto.
Oh, he's happy about that.
Yeah, blindly through the tree there. We will be starting this stage off well. That was the question I was going to pose before that spawn kill came through.
Well, it's that worrying confidence that Rogue has when things are going their way. And to be fair, they were a team that had things entirely go against them before and had to go through a lot of mental coaching and a lot of that sort of situation to get to a position now when they can be like this on a game day where they're winning, but they try and keep this on the game days where they're losing. They know how close they get towards being at the top, and they know how much pressure they can put in on their game day. They're sort of steadily etching into the marble the idea of excellence, and they've had good showings at majors from what was players that you've always expected to be there, but now we get that growth. Here, the pressure comes towards the top from MNM, a team that is still fresh in the young guns of EUL, and although they have some of the older experience, it is still a very young team, and learning to sort of find the long fire fight. I mean, this is the second part of a 3-stage race.
And for sure, the 3 stages that eventually will decide whether or not you stay in the highest level of play within Rainbow Six. But users looking to go aggressive here might be aware of the fact as he turns around. We'll find Kanto, instantly gets flicked on though from 1 on West Main. Klein will find that kill, but it's a trade either way. So 3-2 on the board. Rogue still with a man advantage, but that could have been 2.
Users able to get a huge quick double there and actually bite into the hold of Rogue, cause some problems and some pressure. It's something that they've sort of been missing. MNM has been trying to formulate their way around, but obviously losing themselves to the spawn peaks on approach for, I'm going to say, 2 rounds in a row. Though the Spoit one was a little bit slower and a little bit more confrontational than Leon's, it's still something that you need to make sure you keep stepping back into. And he's a player that can do that. Leon, the very late reinforcement there is just getting themselves some solidity over the site. They have the use of those smoke canisters, 2 more in pocket in 50 seconds to try and spray them out across it, as Nello's going to make things a little bit more uncomfortable for a bar hold, with Neo doing the same thing, smashing some angles and some ideas across the backline. Once again, Neo and Nello are the remaining pair. This time, I'll say they have a little bit more feasible utility in terms of getting in and getting aggressive across the board. 1 more grenade is still potentially in pocket, a flash as well as another canister pops, 30 seconds.
1 kill coming in. Leon will find Neo, only leaving it up to Nello, carrying the kit here in that 1v3 with 20 seconds on the board of Sport. They'll eventually find that final kill. Shouts are starting to appear on the side of Kanto here. Rogue is starting to get hyped up even more so if they weren't already, because they feel like the victory is closing in on them, and they only need 2 more rounds to basically force that to happen. And thus a tactical timeout will be called. MNM, they realize this as well, that if they lose 1 more round, they lose a potential point or 2, considering, you know, if you play the mathematical game there. And thus it's time for a timeout. They need to talk. They need to make sure that these next couple of rounds will go their way, just so they can fight for the 3-pointer themselves.
It's always tricky. Your first Playday back after a bit of a space of play, of sort of coming into this situation. And obviously, they've been scrimming and practicing and prepping for this environment. But, you know, it's the MNM. The joke about MNM is that if the game is early on in the day, they are going to lose. And if it's late, they're going to win because of when they wake up. It's also seemingly starting to turn into a bit of a story where at the start of a split in a season, they're a little bit slower. Because the MNM that we saw at the end of the last split compared to the MNM that we're seeing at the start of both splits so far would put in a heck of a game against anybody. They were able to really take pretty much everyone onto the boards and fought their way from being, I think it was dead last, to 5th over the course of 4 Playdays.
Yeah, they definitely were able to go onto a massive rise there through the rankings. All I'm going to say is to add to that story, luckily they play EUL rather than APAC North, otherwise that would have been a bit of an issue for them. The 10 AM starts. Well, that's the one from the major you were referring to earlier. Either way, Leon here, just sees him just spraying through the tree. Trees aren't bulletproof. For those of you that didn't know, they can go through, especially through the leaves.
A big tree would be.
Or the needles, rather, because
it's weird.
It's not leaves.
Because there's some banisters in this game that are bulletproof that you would think would.
But the trees aren't.
But the trees aren't.
Yeah, no, not for sure.
Nature,
back to the game.
Nature weak to bullets. If you're ever in a fight with a tree,
you're not going to win that one. Bring a hatchet to a tree gunfight. Either way, 2 minutes 30 on that clock. A Capitown on the board here for MNM. So maybe a bit of a smoke plant coming through, or at least an attempt for it. Block some of those lines aside if they do decide to finally go in. The second arrow was afraid someone was actually active inside of Trophy. Not the case. Cryin, however, is active within that basement, and Solotov just holding off for a potential late flank now, whereas grenades are being tossed in from above, will not find anything on the side of the road.
No, but the fight might start to come a little bit below. You can see they're sort of flying their flag of pressure and Cryin. Oh, he just misses out, Solotov. Whether he got the call or just pulled the game at the right time, was able to swing around and take what should have been Cryan's kill there. And there's Leon biting back instantly with a quick hop out. Takes care of Tyrant on the swing round. They lose Iana once again, and well, he might see if he can try and get a bit more on it. The Buck is already injured. Now he's sent to the afterlife there. Solotov off the board, and here Rogue have instantly bit back into the lead. They lose Solotov and Tyrant, 2 big players, and now it's down to potentially Users once again to see if he can try and draw some fire. Otherwise, it might be the 3rd round in a row when Nello and Neo are left as the duo dream team to try and make everything happen.
Spy being a bit slippery there, gets spotted out, quickly rotates out before someone could even be in a position to try and put some fire towards him, because Neo was, of course, repelled up here. Still very worried about a potential jump out or run out from the garage. Now, that drone will confirm that will not happen. Will probably be watched by one of the dead MNM players, just to give a bit of ease of mind to the MNM guys that are still alive, as, of course, their garage run out with an Orcs on the board. It's not too uncommon. Oh, there comes a fire. The smoke, rather. What are they planning?
I think they're trying to work it out as much as you are at this point. Leon's still holding the angle, being droned out. They look like they want to try and put a bit more pressure back into the spot, as Users is going to try and smoke off the jump, see if he can get himself into at least a trophy and some lock, and they don't have time to go all the way to the top and rock their way back round, so they're going to take that and take the fight. A great take there onto Leon. Nello's going to see if he can try and clear utility, but once again they swing their way back round. Deepek gets Nello, and there's Users to get a little bit of revenge as the Dutch player finally gets himself onto the score and the kill board. Users, he's trying to bite his way through here. Neo on the other side. They're trying to see if they can try and split some pressure, but Spoit is above, and that is the big risk right now. He has that angle. In fact, the other player has themselves a little bit stretched around the swing. There's a plant in the bushes and the brushes. There's a reveal of the player on the rotate up. There's an important fight one out, and there it is. The kid is cold. Kanto comes around the corner, guarantees themselves at least OT and a point, but at this point, you're wondering if anything can stop them getting all 3.
Yeah, there are 3 opportunities to do so, Emmy. It's looking very likely like Rogue is going to be able to take a victory here. Still have a tactical timeout on the board as well, but after MNM called theirs, they still came out swinging. And what you said before, MNM, they got that entry kill, but quickly 2 trades back in favor of Rogue. They were able to find 2 gunfights, make them go their way. And yes, of course, MNM was able to bring it back to a 3v3, a 2v2, and eventually it was a 1v1. It was just Rogue that, with the little amount of time that was left for MNM to get that diffuser down, decided to send Spoit down those back stairs, take that 1v1 onto West Main, whereas Kanto pushing in back into the bomb side, basically would have had the opportunity to kill the diffuser planter for free without any challenge. All he had to do was stay alive after that. So well played by Rogue there, playing that as a team, as 2v2, but also at the same time forcing 2 1v1s. It's just that one of them had the diffuser on the ground and needed to pull that down as well.
Well, Rogue, you have 3 rounds here to secure it before you find yourselves in OT, and MNM, 3 big shouts and chances. I love that. They just destroyed the top of the floor and obviously got it tucked in underneath the windows. It's a little bit more awkward to see, and you're looking at those Razor Blooms being any danger to anybody popping in on a quick idea. Leon's going for another tree-based peek at this point, but nobody is falling for it this time round. Uses slow and steady, like Rambo, through those bushes and brushes, but the only bushel he is handed is access to the building, which, to be honest, is something that has stumped them a little bit before. Solotov, he's 2 stories underneath, hoping to see if he can get another catch. It seems like MNM is going a little bit stealthier at this point. They want to make sure that they're in a position to, if they suffer the first, get revenge instantly.
Tyron also coming up the West Main area here, hoping to find one, but users will be able to find a jump out of Leon. Tyron now looking around the gate, and there's the one that's just sitting next to him crying, will be found, and it's a 3-5. I just hear Fresh say, what on the other side of the room here? It's Deepak now dropping, trying to find a Nuck. They just managed to get 1 kill, but it's another one given to Tyron, and this might just end up as a flawless round for the side of MNM as well.
I mean, I've got a lot of questions, Rogue, and wow, this is MNM. As I said, they're going to make sure they're in a position to strike instantly onto the players. Users finds one more, and it's turning into more and more of that. I'll have to break this down, but I'll do it after a little bit of play-by-play here, as I think it's going to keep its pace up across the board. You can see they're rotating themselves around underneath. They've got so many bodies in the pings of the proxies. There's the camera going across the board. Downs, no, doesn't. A flawless. And that was a fantastic MNM round. And what I loved is we saw Leon go for the hop out because he didn't have any options left. The pressure was coming in across the side, underneath him, round on the swing of West Main as well. We saw the Nook coming through.
Yeah.
He went for something where he might be able to at least get 1 for the cost and paid it off at that point. The crying thing, I have no idea what happened. He was watching a door wrong.
I mean, Nuck is stealthy.
Is this how we find out that Cryan is a robot and was fooled by Nook's ability?
Might have been the case. His cameras, his eyes, and thus the Hell sensor was able to deceive him. Now, by the way, jokes aside, 6-4, a good round there from MNM. Some questionable stuff that happened on the side of Rogue, but sometimes those things do happen. I was going to say, at that moment, it was a 1v5 for Spoit. If there's any moment to show that you are indeed the new, well, god of Siege, that would have been it. But, of course, a 1v5 is going to be very difficult. MNM, a very competent team at that, played that well at the same time. They got some drones in. They didn't just rush the side as a result because there was only 1 player left. That's how you start losing those. Now, they got the information out. They started locking down different kind of angles and then took the fight slowly upon him and won it in the end. Now it's 6-4. Headed back towards that first floor. It's going to be the bar and gaming. A site that has been played many times already today. This is the 5th. Yeah, 5th time we're seeing it. Not just from Rogue, MNM 3 times before as well. Users doing some work here with the camera, taking out the default cams, basically leaving Rogue guessing where they're actually coming from, because a dead camera often means someone has been here.
They're waiting for some pressure. They have the pings of the player that's just around that open hatch, and Spoit's hoping he can try and get a bit of a clean strike here. How unaware are they? Solotov seems to have some awareness. He wants to lean into the fight. He's just holding the angle for now, and Spoit's actual presence in this position means that they're going to be in a bit of a tricky situation. There it is. Is able to get at least a bite of the player, but Solotov had the angle, had the hold already, and had a pretty keen idea of what was coming next. Deepak, he's locked in, just stopping the drone game come through. There's going to be a bit of a bounce of grenades all the way to the top floor in the hole, but nobody's there. This means the Maverick can start doing this, turns that pantry position into a pretty much impossible place to play.
Yeah, or at least you're going to be having to worry about this staircase here. Now, Kento still has some vertical control there, but as soon as he falls, it's definitely going to be that impossible position to be in. Leo, very aggressive here on that double window near the gaming. It's Nello, though, that tosses out a drone. We'll see him, and that forces Leon to fall back towards the pantry that he now sees has been opened up. So he's going to be preoccupied with anybody potentially moving up those staircase there, whereas the rest of the team could start working on other areas.
Kanto is able to find Solotov there and at least get a body into their favor. Obviously, he's still in position, which means that they have some safety, but it just takes a missed player to slip through out of the previous round. And here it's a drone that rolls on past, gets picked up on the second swing round. Just over a minute, and they're going to see if they can try and put pressure onto Kanto. He's wanting and eyeing up a fight here. He knows his time is limited, but the longer he survives, the less that MNM has to work with, and the more they might just have to try and deep dive and duck their way into the site itself. Uses on the upside down rappel, hoping to be gifted a bit of a presence here. Tyrant, he's a bit concerned about somebody that might be playing onto the swing on the other half of the map, but otherwise Rogue has actually coalesced themselves all the way underneath. Neo with a grenade roll. Catches Leon tucked in just too close. He was concerned about the burn line, and suddenly this means they can try and put the kit down. Nello, he's tucked in under the double window. They're going to go for a bit of a retake. Do they know? Well, it's an upside down rappel that's able to bite themselves through. Cryan gets the important kill, but it's a little bit too late. A post-plant situation. Cryan, he's all that is stood standing right now. Tyrant's inside the site. The impact gives at least one position away, and they're able to pick up a freebie, but it's still a 2 versus 1. And, well, that is a very tricky retake at this point. He knows he's got to try and take at least one of these fights first. They're holding and hoping for the jump out, and it's gifted. MNM 6-5, and they've got 2 in a row.
I remember after saying round 9, I was like, it's looking very likely like Rogue might be able to win it here, but everything starts to fall apart a little bit here. 2 good rounds coming in from the side of MNM, perfectly playing into Rogue's setup, and you might be wondering, why was Leon sitting in that position? Why was he prone to being picked up by that grenade? But that's just because the Maverick opened up the staircase onto Pantry. Suddenly that position is a little bit more tricky to play. And yes, Kanto was still alive above, but he was being challenged from the main door, from the library window, from other angles as well at the very same time. So he cannot be babysitting those staircases for you there. So Leon decided, you know what? I'll just move out. I'll just go deeper into the side. That way Kanto can focus on his 2 guys that are trying to take him out, and I can focus on mine. And unfortunately, didn't work out in the end. And the tactical timeout, which is basically almost over already, had been called just to try and see if we can salvage this last round, this last opportunity that Rogue has to try and go for 3 points.
And that's it. It's an important turn of points, because if this is one of the teams that beat you on the previous split, and, you know, if you'd have taken this game, then maybe you would have been at Charlotte, maybe you would have been at the Major. It's one of those awkward sort of conversations that happens. But technically, they're also one of the teams that finished above you as well in the grand scheme of things. I think it was the last Playday where Rogue fell 2 spaces and MNM were able to climb up at least above them and just shy of getting to the Major themselves in the books of MNM. From that perspective, if they're able to take a win here early on, if they had one other win, then they might have been one of the team at the Major. They could have been out in Charlotte and followed off the success of their SI story.
I like how before last stage I said I prefer having 4 wins in the early stage and trying to close it out rather than needing to fight back at the end of things. For Rogue, that didn't work out, however, when they were in second place for so long and unfortunately fell down to the lower half of that scoreboard in the end. Now, they'll be looking to revenge that, and they would need to do that with a win here. But at the same time, MNM, you said it before, looking for some early points. So if they do grow into these stages, they can only go up from here. If you go up from a win, that's massive.
Wow, there's a catch on an early Twitch drone, and Spoit, they're trying to hunt him. And this is the game MNM's played pretty well, actually. Over the past few rounds, they've seemingly realized that they can try and isolate those individual loose players on the side of Rogue and punish them, who had otherwise got a little bit freewheeling. And at this point, that sort of idea of let's get one, let's get them off the board and then focus on the next and be a little bit laser focused for a period of time against Rogue, and the holds that they've been running has been working pretty well. I'm curious if the conversation between Rogue was one of, well, let's try and pull ourselves back a little bit. Let's force them into a situation where we can be the ones at least expecting a bit of the pace. We've played a game, it's worked and not worked, so now we've got to see if we can try and rework something.
Spoit hasn't really been able to put too much on the board these last 3 rounds, actually. The entry kill, I believe, twice of that even. So needs to make sure that he starts hitting back a little bit here because, you know, Rogue is basically missing that awareness that he had in that very first half. The entry kills that he managed to get, the double kills as well, those come a long way. And if he does get able to get one now, then that might even be the game locked out. So Spoit really needing to get a good round here now.
You can see Rogue are trying to work out exactly where the push is coming from. MNM haven't truly played their hand as of yet. They've lost a couple drones in the meantime, and they're stacked up on Solarium, but you can see Rogue is a little bit angsty of when the swing and the push is actually going to come through. Tyrant tucked in on the window, just here on the connection between the bathroom and the piano, is hoping that play goes a bit wider, but Leon just heard the audio and the shuffle of that, and might that force a grenade in just a second. Either way, they're happy to try and get themselves locked in an angle towards the little box. I don't think that's an entirely possible hard wall, but Kanto is just going to drop a Claymore and give themselves a little bit more of an option. Reveals the player on the player, and Users has to now watch that instead, but with 40 seconds, it's a big bit of attention to be paid. They're able to find success, almost finds the second on it. Deepak suffers on the site. Solotov goes, but Leon goes back. Drives himself towards the door, sprays it, but Solotov, he's able to find a second on the site itself. Suddenly it's turned into, well, a 1 versus 4. Cryin is all that's left to make sure this doesn't go to OT. The pre-fires come through, sees one, sees the second. At least gets the connection there, but with only 15 seconds and Nello able to get the kit down, it doesn't matter. We are going to OT.
And there we have it. A bit of too much aggression coming out with the runouts there. I feel like it wasn't quite necessary to go for them. Especially with the detection time. People are going to be aware if you shoot that Claymore, if you open that door, people will be watching. And if you do it, at least do it from both areas at the same time. Go from trench, go from the main door, make sure they line up. That way you're always going to be able to get that kill. That didn't quite come through this time around. And now, the wine cellar coming up with MNM on the defense here on their first OT round. We'll get 2 attempts at doing it. Now, no side particular favored here, considering we had a 3-3 both sides, which means that it's basically perfectly split so far.
Well, it's always going to be a bit of a bitter moment when you are the team that is on map point. It is drop points. There's no two ways about it, regardless of how well your opponents are playing. It should have been you with the full fat points, and that's always the moral of the story. And that's something now the Rogue, they'll have to carry with them regardless of how the result of this map goes. 6-6. MNM have done huge bits to at least pull something from this game. They too would have wanted the 3 points, but some is better than none, and now they have the chance to at least get a technical win, get 2, and get that jump over opponents who were so close on the board with them before, especially as they were able to pull the win previously. It's better to keep those records going.
Glass coming out again, and similar kind of setup. The Warden of Users coming in, needing to come in big time here because they want to go for a plant, again covered off by the smoke. Now, if they do drone, they will find out at some point there is a Warden on the board, and as the wall does get opened up quite quickly, there's nothing quite there to stop them. They might become a bit of a battle in between the Glass and Users on that Warden as soon as that plan does decide to go down. So other pieces of utility need to be there for the defenders to help. And if you look at the right-hand side of your screen, you then see a C4, 2 C4s actually, and yokai drones they could potentially use. So those need to be used very well for MNM to stop this plan from happening.
Solotov holding into the top of main here. They have some sort of castle extensions, and as that one gets broken open, he's actually going to move into it to give himself a better idea. The Echo drone's trying to get as much intel as it can through the drone hole. It's elastic banding back and forth to make sure it doesn't get caught out, and I'm not sure if they tried to block it there with the other drone.
Would have been a very smart thing to do, just body block it with that drone, make sure it loses that reception. That is one out of play, but got back onto side, and now another drone used to help the roamers. And suddenly, Rogue seem to be eyeing up to go for this plant. First smoke canister pops, and that might be calling for some utility to be tossed in or Users to go for a bit of a rotate.
I think the thing here is as well as they've got that wall open on the far side. There's Users, he's watching, he's waiting, he's devastating. Finds the first, finds the second, looks for the third, can't get it. Kanto gets some revenge and they get themselves inside the site. The proximities are pinging off, but they know there's more work to be done. Nello, he gets a spray around there onto Spoit, onto Blue. There's at least a bite back. Cryin gets one from inside box, but they're concerned about the rotate underneath. They've actually found themselves entirely stacked up inside Blue itself. All 3 players are pretty much knocking on the door of that single hold, and with a minute left, Cryin is going to go deeper and deeper and deeper. He's looking for a fight round on the corner. They're lying down. Neo is able to get one here for MNM, and well, it's now MNM in the lead for the first time since the second round, and with 4 in a row. Wow, it's looking very dangerous here for Rogue.
If we look over the 13 rounds we have had so far as well, I believe a total of 9 of those entry kills went to the side of MNM. Potentially 10. We don't know what happened in that first round, so let's just say 9 out of the 12 rounds we've seen, they managed to get the entry kill. They haven't always been able to translate it, but this time they definitely were. The Warden, the good pick, the best pick they could have potentially gone for on that side because of the smoke plans that they wanted to go for. They covered up the rotates, they wanted to go in deep, but the Warden activating their glasses there was able to find 2 of those players. The glass, and of course the Thermite carrying the diffusers. Suddenly you find yourself with a pretty good advantage here. And again, Spoit, unable to find an entrance here on the attack this time. You see it again from Hughes, who's a wonderful play. Currently on 16 kills. He got traded out right after. He's looking to overtake Cryin in the top spot of this game.
Okay, Rogue, things haven't been going well from you. Of the past 4 rounds that you've lost, 3 of those were on your defense. That attack round was really a huge moment to try and bring this game back at least into some semblance of your favor, but the momentum has kept itself rolling in an MNM branded train. Here at this point, I think we've seen Rogue's game sort of suffer. Sure, Deepak was able to find his first kill, and Leon's been able to step into the game a little bit more, but with Spoit unfortunately finding himself a little bit silenced. Well, it's going to turn into, where else can they go? Oh, not there. Solotov. Yeah, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice by Deepak. Trying to repeat some of the maneuvers we've seen some Spoit on Leon, but unfortunately doesn't quite work in Dutch.
No, didn't quite work in Dutch. There's more things that don't work in Dutch. Either way, 1 on 10 for him. Not really the game he's looking for. He did quite well last stage. Hopes that he get back in on the next couple of games. Solotov trying to go for a next gunfight. There's 2 players down into that basement. Again, they were going for quite some aggression here and there. Spoit will finally find his 10th, but instantly shut down afterwards. Will stay on 10, at least for now, and 6 on 7, but a 3 on 3. As Leon Gitz will find a kill as well. MNM still very much in it.
Huge and very important play there, and if we're going to talk about the players of Rogue sort of sifting into the darkness, Users has become a shining light. I commented on it on the round where he pushed himself in, and Neo almost gets a very easy pick there onto an unsurprised Kanto. Just pulls himself back, bloodied, but still going. As I was saying before, it was the round where Users drove in, got a 2K, and brought some momentum back into MNM. Ever since then, they've seemingly had an entirely different life behind him. He is such a huge player to step in to this moment. Things see the drop, the call, and just to slip on by. They don't quite get the free gift. Kanto heard the audio, but now he's in a power position to see if he can at least try and get some revenge.
Well, some pings going through. They knew he was out there. Hoped to go for a drop and the instant kill, but Kanto a bit too slippery there. Will be able to find himself up towards West Main in a position where he can actually head towards the site. Ryan going for a bit of support there, is being asked if he can see whether or not Trophy's currently being occupied. Not the case, and thus Kanto can rotate back up. And that brings it to a 3-on-3 on the site now, where MNM need to get that diffuser down in the next 65 seconds or so. And as Neo opens up that wall completely now, almost, a little bit left, there we go. They can go for a plant in just a couple of seconds if Users opens up that door on the balcony as well.
He's prepped pretty much all the punches. They want to see if they can try and just throw themselves in. Neo's going to get him a bit of range there for the angle and the swing round onto Kanto behind the bed, but the slow creep comes through. Without piano control, it's very risky and a bit of a duck and cover fight. There's the second player. If they can connect, and they do, they're going to see if they can stick the plant. A bit of a rotate here, and the cover over the top comes through, and so does the kit. Down cold. Hard even, actually. The plant is over the top. They're tucked in behind the double hard wall. Cryin wants to make a bit of a maneuver, but they've lost sight of Users. He's back towards the balcony door. They're going to go for the swing. Gets an easy pick up there. Users, I said, he'd been the driving force for the team in the fight, back into it, and now they've been able to pull themselves in. Nello's wider. He gets the lock in. MNM get the points. 2-1. Rogue still walk away with something, but it was almost everything.
Oh, it was so close, but I'm just going to go back. Didn't you say it before that even if MNM are 6-3 down, it's not quite impossible
Oh,
for them
it's
to come
never
back,
over.
right? It's never over until it's over. Guess what? They took the win either way. They get the 2 points. Rogue will only find one. Spoit, the first half of that game, amazing. Absolutely flawless. Managed to get so many kills on that board. But unfortunately, second half to the OT, unable to truly put his mark onto the game here so far. As Cryan and Yuzus, well, they were basically having a bit of a fight towards the end there. See who will be coming out on top.
I was going to say it was a good showing for some of the young guns, but unfortunately it was Father's Day. So the old heads are the ones that walk away with the win today. We'll be back with the oldest of them all, our desk, after a very quick break. See you then.